All right, hi guys. I'm sitting here with Meg and Amy, lying in the shade, and we're going to fire a few hashtag Ask Meg's questions at Meg, and let's see if she's not too bored to answer. So a question that I get a lot is, we recently released a video on the spaying of all the lionesses in the sanctuary. Well, there was a few comments from people saying that I'm a chauvinist because I'm targeting the females and not the males ever, and why didn't I just neuter or vasectomize the males? Why do I have to put the females through the trauma? Vasectomies are also pretty they're pretty easy to perform these days. So Meg, why the girls? Eh? Okay, she says she's bored already. Anyway, the truth be known is that let's take the example of vasectomizing the males in the sanctuary and leaving the females. Basically what would happen is the females would continually cycle because firstly, there's nothing suppressing the cycling, and secondly, now they're not going to be falling pregnant, certainly because the males would have been vasectomized. On the point of vasectomies, the males don't lose their manes. It's only when they're castrated that they would lose the hair around their necks and head. So there's no worry of that in a vasectomy, and vasectomies have proved to be pretty effective. The biggest problem with vasectomizing a male lion in a sanctuary like we have here is because of our ratio of female male is almost 50-50. You have this issue of females now all around the sanctuary coming into estrus, and the poor old males mating to their heart's content and nothing happening. So you have this sustained level of aggression in the sanctuary. You have males frustrated who are on their own and smelling this estrus all the time in the air, getting aggressive with each other, and that happens quite a lot. So it's not a good idea to have a whole bunch of vasectomized males and a whole bunch of females that are cycling all the time. And the surgery that was performed was very, very minor. In fact, all the lions, if you go and watch the video, and I do suggest you do so if you finish watching this hashtag Ask Meg, you can go to the end and there'll be a playlist, and you can just scroll and look for the procedures that were done, the spaying procedures, and you can have a look for yourself. All right, so here's a quick one. A question came in, and it's also a commonly asked question. What happens if you look at a lion in the eyes and stare at a lion in the eyes? Will it perceive that to be a threat, and will it be aggressive towards you? So let's look. Meg, okay, she's sleeping. Okay, so I'm looking Meg directly in the eye. She's just looking through me because she's trying to see what's going on in the enclosure next door. Truth be known, the answer to that question is, if you stare a lion in the eyes, will it see it as a threat? It's multifaceted, and I suppose the answer is yes and no. It's all about context. And I often say to people, if you go up to somebody and you look at them in the eye and you stare at them intently, they're going to be feeling uncomfortable very quickly. Same with a lion. If I look at Meg and Amy and they look at me and I look them in the eye, not a threat. If I look at Bobcat in the eye, not a threat. Now I come to Bobcat and he's eating, and now I look at him in the eye and I stare at him, he's going to absolutely see that as a threat. Same thing with Meg and Amy. If they're heated, they all fired up for whatever reason, there's a lion next door that's irritating them, and now clever Kevin comes into the enclosure and now goes, hey Meggie, Amy, and looks them and stares them in the eye. Yeah, for sure they're going to see that as a challenge or a threat. if a male lion has a female and the female's in estrus, or if it was a female and the female had her cubs and now she's sitting there trying to protect her cubs, and now you come over there and start staring at her in the face. So it all depends on context. If the lion's chilled, relaxed, happy, normal, like Meg is now, not a problem. Staring a lion in the eyes, not a problem. Meg, anything to add? No, she's just way interested in what's going on with the lioness in the enclosure next door. All right, this question's from Alexandra Sharp, UK. And Meg, she's wanting to know where have all the lions in the sanctuary come from? The vast majority of the lions in my care are all way over 10 years of age. They are, most of them, towards the end of their lives, and they all, most of them, in fact, stem from where I used to work when I first started working with lions back in 1998. And it was a lion park that basically bred lions for tourism and for petting. And when I left there, they came with me. So that's where the majority of the lions that you see, like Meg, like Amy, and a lot of the other familiar names. We have had a rescue of 2 lions from Spain, named George and Yame, and that was a very unique situation. It's not something that I always entertain. In fact, on a weekly basis, we are getting asked if we can please rescue lions from all walks of life, from all over the world, and normally the answer back is a polite, sorry, that's not our mandate. And the reason for it is we don't believe in perpetuating the captive situation. This is why we don't breed the lions. Certainly I come from a background where I initially didn't see the wrongs, and then later on cottoned on to the pitfalls of the industry, of the lion breeding industry and the petting industry and the walking with lions, and ultimately what happens to them, and then the further breeding for trophy hunting, and now even the lion bone trade. So hats off to the people who do keep them in these small areas, that are really trying their best to give them a quality of life. Hats off. It's a mammoth task, and it's far easier from my perspective to do what I do. However, I don't advocate it because it is a commitment, it's a responsibility, and I suppose no one really spares a thought for how much it costs, both money-wise and time-wise, to look after these animals properly, give them the proper care and attention and exercise and stimulation that they need. It boggles my mind, Meg, when people say, I keep all the lions I breed because that's okay. So we stick them in enclosures and we just build enclosures perpetually. There's no enrichment, there's no stimulation, and basically you have 80 lions living in a box, in a cage, in a jail. My take on that is that if I was a lion and you asked me what I would rather have, I'd probably say rather just put me out of my misery, because sustaining an animal's life for the duration of its life in a jailed environment whereby there's very limited stimulation is not a life for me. I'd rather live a much shorter life than this prolonged life in prison. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm going on about that. It's just 21 years of working with lions and seeing what makes these minds, this up here, what makes that tick. Rescuing a lion from some place, some country in wherever in Europe, and bringing it into South Africa, putting it in another cage, and then saying I'm leaving it alone and giving it this peaceful life, is not up my alley, because, as I've explained, it just is not what lions need. I've always said it, and I'll say it again. I don't advocate that people go out and get a lion cub and start a lion sanctuary. Think about it. If that's really something you want to do, look me up. Come talk to me, and I'll do my best to explain all the pitfalls of having an organization like this, and the costs of running it, and all the complexities, because at face value it seems like a great idea. Let me go and rescue lions from all around the world, but In reality, it's not. Question that's come in, it's quite a complicated one, so I'll try my best to answer it in just a short few minutes. But the person's asking, why is trophy hunting such a controversial topic? And oh my gosh, it's like, how long is a piece of string? She's going, she hates this topic. I don't blame her. It involves emotions, and when we get emotional, sometimes we don't think clearly. So there's the arguments for and there's arguments against. And being a person who has such close relationships with animals, and more specifically lions, and knowing that lions are on the menu when it comes to hunting, I have skin in the game, so to speak. These animals are my life. They're not just lions, they are personalities. So if I can't even imagine somebody wanting to shoot them. But we need to face facts. There are people out there who want to shoot lions and other animals. And I think where we stand today is the problem is the ethics and the moral issues surrounding these activities. I think it's disingenuous to just lump all forms of hunting into one category and say it's bad and it's black and white. It's not. When I start to unpick it, there's various forms of hunting, there's various forms of hunters, and one can argue that there's outfitters that do still to this day do ethical hunts, and there's outfitters that are not going to go about it that way because they're in it for a quick buck. And I suppose this is the issue. This is one of the potentials for the argument. I don't even want to delve into canned line hunting for this particular Ask Meg question, because canned line hunting and canned hunting per se makes absolutely zero sense to me, and it makes zero sense as to why somebody would want to partake in it too. What I'm talking about here is trophy hunting of animals in wilderness systems. So, a quota is given for lions, say for example in the Kruger Park, every year more or less there's 10 or 10 to 15 wild lions hunted in South Africa, some of which come from the Kruger Park. And I start to think to myself, the processes involved in what is actually taking place here, the fees, the hunting fees going into the park, the price tag on the animal, the ability of the animal, very importantly, to evade the hunter, the way the hunt is conducted, the way and manner in which the respect is given to the animal. The whole argument about the fact that trophy hunting supports communities, I don't think that's always been the rationale or the reason as to why it came about. I don't think trophy hunters trophy hunt to support communities. They trophy hunt because they want to shoot animals. It's really people wanting to come out and get the exhilaration of let's for example say stalking a lion through the bush on foot and then shooting it, either with a high-powered rifle or a high-powered bow. I still don't get that, guys. I wouldn't want to do it. I don't. I find it morally repugnant. I could not. If you had to say to me, Kevin, could you hunt for food? Absolutely. If I was stranded somewhere and my life depended on it, for sure I'm going to be able to take an animal's life to sustain myself or my family. But to go and shoot an animal for pleasure, it doesn't resonate with me. But I understand that it resonates with many people around the world, and that's why the hunting fraternity is such a powerful force to be reckoned with. Now, So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, you've got animal activists and rightists and conservationists. Some conservationists argue that hunting has a place in conservation and in making animals valuable to the point whereby people want to protect those animals and the land masses that contain those animals, and not just the target species, other species that fall in that environment that's been protected. And apparently, you know, we're looking at areas of over 22 million hectares of land currently in South Africa that is being utilized for game ranching and game farming, which ultimately leads in some form or another to either biltong hunting or trophy hunting. So hunting in some form or another. 22 million hectares are being protected. We need to look at the counter. So if we had to ban trophy hunting today, we said no more trophy hunting, we have to look at the possible transformation of the land use. So these hunters at the moment have a consideration, they have an incentive to look after tracts of land. Despite what you or I might think of it, they breed the animals, they have an interest in protecting the animals, looking after the animals so that people can come to their farm and shoot animals. If you take that away, now there's no incentive to keep these animals. In fact, these animals are just going to become a burden and a cost, and ultimately either are going to be sold off or poached out, and then we need to consider what the alternative usage of that land would be. We cannot say that every hunting farm would naturally be converted into phototourism, because most of the areas where these farms exist are on the fringes of the absolute depths of nowhere. So these are not the prettiest of landscapes, and they're certainly not areas where high-paying tourists are going to pay money to go and visit. I'm not talking the Sabi Sands near the Kruger Park. We're talking about out into, you know, the areas that border with Botswana that are desert or semi-desert. This is where a lot of these hunting farms are, and some of them even in the Free State that is really not the most suitable land for phototourism. And a lot of the land is also not suitable for agriculture. So, you know, these areas, once upon a time, many of these game farms were farms for cattle and livestock, and post 60s, 70s, 80s, they slowly but surely got transformed into these game breeding farms, mostly for hunting and because of the value in the game. The big problem that I have at this point in time with the way the hunting industry is running is that the morals and the ethics are not there. It's free for all. The checks and balances, the regulations and the checking up thereof are just simply not in place. What I'll end off by saying, and then I'll love and leave Meg and Amy are quite tired of me talking, is whenever we talk about controversial topics such as this, we are not going to have any easy answers. It's complicated. It's not black or white. It's very much grey. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into trophy hunting. Goodbye, Maggie. Love you. See you next time. Thanks for being so patient. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. Okay. Bye-bye, Ames. See you, darling. Love you too. Love you. Mwah. Take it easy. Okay, guys, so I am going to end it there. I think you all get the gist of it. It's complicated, a lot of these issues, a lot of these questions. There's a whole series of #AskMegs, and we answer a whole throw of different questions about lions and the industry and anything that people ask Meg. She's a very smart lion. Thank you, guys. Wouldn't have been able to do it without you, so until next time, bye.